Hey kids, uh, you notice your joints or your elbow or your not your elbow, well your joints including your elbow or your friend's joints snapping, crackling, popping, making all kinds of ruckus when you're arm wrestling? Sounds like crickets playing castanets while eating potato chips. Well, there's usually nothing to worry about. Um, if there's no pain, no swelling, no discoloration, everything's probably fine. If there's one of those three things, this ain't the video for you. You got to go find a different one. But as long as you're pain free, there's typically three causes, and we'll cover the ones that are most likely it here today. So bear with me. Got my notes right here. Boom. First one, you probably already suspected this. This is your tendons and your ligaments, and this is most likely the case. Normal aging, especially in the absence of regular stretching or any keeping your tendons pliable, the tendons and ligaments tend to get a little stiffer as we age, and this loss of elasticity makes them stiffer, like I said. Come on, Hutchins, what the heck? So if you look at this elbow joint or this shoulder joint, you can see we got tendons going every which way. This is a very complex tendon and ligament geometry. When these joints open and close, these tendons have to slide over each other. Your hands are just as bad, especially the wrist. Look at all these tendons concentrated in the wrist. As your wrist is flexed and extended, those tendons have to glide by each other. As those tendons stiffen with age and lose their elasticity, combined with especially the heavy resistance training that we do, which also tends to make the tendon stronger, but also a little bit stiffer, these tendons have a harder time gliding past each other when these joints are moved. Combine that with micro tears or scarring. Newbie pain, anybody? That elbow pain you get right there on the inside of your elbow, terrible, is right on the inside of your elbow, please excuse me, is micro tears. And that's that golfer's elbow toothache feeling we're getting all the time. Well, when that scar's over, combined with the tendons being stiffer as we age, the outside becomes less smooth. So that rougher surface also makes them harder to glide past each other. So now you got complex geometry, super stiff, tight fibers getting plucked, by these rough surfaces as they go by each other. So basically, we got an internal banjo going on, right? The tendons are acting like banjo strings as we're plucking it. Dee 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 dee. So once again, no pain, no swelling, discoloration. This makes noise. It's kind of off-putting to the people that hear it, but no big thing to worry about. Just all part of the natural process. Something else. This is probably the coolest thing of the methods. Is cavitation in the joint. I think this is what typically happens when people crack their knuckles. I don't think this is so much happening in arm wrestlers, but it's possible. As you can see, when a joint's closed, there's this little tiny volume of fluid here and a lot of fluid on the outside. As the two bones separate, it creates a bigger volume here, and that bigger volume has to be filled with the fluid that was on the outside. That fluid has to rush in. Well, if these joints separate fast enough, faster than the fluid can rush in, it creates a very low pressure region in the middle. That low pressure allows the gases that are dissolved in that fluid, which is, I believe there's nitrogen and oxygen and other gases like that, are dissolved in this synovial fluid. Well, under that low pressure, those gases form little bubbles. And then when this fluid eventually rushes in, those bubbles collapse, and that can make a very, very loud popping noise. Cavitation is something that all us mechanical engineers studied. Here's an example of cavitation coming off a propeller tip. These propellers are spinning fast enough that the fluid at the end is going fast enough. As a fluid, it goes faster, its pressure decreases, and it decreases enough so that the gases that are entrained in this water come out of a solution. So it's like you're boiling the liquid without actually heating it up. All you're doing is bringing the gases out of it. Like I said, I don't think that's happening a lot in arm wrestling practice, but it's included here just because I think it's one of the coolest things. This last thing that everybody talks about, osteoarthritis or just arthritis in general. This is your bones changing, your bones getting these growth on it, cartilage getting changing structure as we get older. This does not follow the rules of no pain, no discoloration, no swelling. If you have this, you are suffering from all three. And if you have this, you're not arm wrestling unless you are just the ultimate badass. As of today, I know of no cure for osteoarthritis, and I think there's very limited things you can do to prevent it. Actually, not really prevent it, maybe mitigate it. Look at this. You end up with mask hands if you have this. You're probably not arm wrestling. This is not the video for you. There's a lot more research on arthritis for you to avail yourselves of. But for now, we're talking about the tendons acting like banjo strings or cavitation in your joints. Here's the links from the information I got that put this slide together and these pictures. I'm including it just in case there's any copyright rules. Once again, thanks kids. Thanks for joining us. I hope this was helpful. When you get off this video, call your mom. At least call your mom today. If you can't, tell someone you love them. Thanks, kids. Now I got a little extra time here, and I'm going to explain how I chose this cover photo. I started arm wrestling. This is Bob Brown. I started arm wrestling with Bob Brown in Utah in around 2010. And it was a couple of years after that, like a switch went on. I didn't notice it. All of a sudden, his wrist and shoulder started cracking and popping and making all these noises. And like I said, it like I didn't notice it the week before, and all of a sudden it happened all the time. He said it was no big deal, wasn't causing him any problems, but it was just kind of gross for me. Well, at the time, my joints weren't making any problems. Once I got about 55 birthday cakes in the rearview mirror, my shoulder, my elbow, my wrist, all that makes snapping, cracking noises. And now the kids at practice that are like 20 years old, they're getting grossed out because they say they can feel like tremors and vibrations and stuff as my tendons rearrange themselves underneath the stress. So just to let you know, it'll almost certainly happen to you. Okay, thanks again. Bye.